There's a restaurant in Portland, Oregon, Marco's Italian Kitchen, corner of 5th and Morrison. It's been there for 40 years. Family-owned, red tablecloths, warm lighting, the kind of place where regulars have their own tables. Edward Chen was a regular. For 25 years, every Friday night, Edward had the same reservation. Table 12, by the window, 7 p.m., 4 people, Edward Chen plus 3. His children, Jennifer, Michael, David. That's what the reservation said. Every week, for 25 years, 1,300 Friday nights. But here's the thing. Edward always came alone, every single Friday for 25 years. He'd arrive at 7 p.m., sit at table 12, order 4 meals, and wait. His children never came, not once. Maria Rodriguez was his server. For all 25 years, she watched this happen, week after week, year after year. She watched Edward age. She watched him hope. She watched him pretend. And when Edward died, Maria did something that changed everything. She'd been documenting it, all of it. 25 years of photographs, receipts, reservation records. At Edward's funeral, Maria brought evidence. 1,300 Friday nights, 1,300 reservations, 1,300 times Edward Chen sat alone at a table for 4, waiting for children who never came. My name is David Morrison, and this is the story of Maria Rodriguez and Edward Chen. A story about a man who waited at a restaurant for 25 years for a family dinner that never happened. Here's Maria's story as she told it.
My name is Maria Rodriguez. I'm 58 years old now. I've been a server at Marco's Italian Kitchen for 32 years, more than half my life spent in this restaurant, carrying plates, pouring wine, watching humanity unfold across red checkered tablecloths. I've seen everything in those 3 decades. Marriage proposals where the man got down on one knee between the appetizers and main course. Anniversary celebrations where couples recreated their first date 40 years later. First dates where nervous 20-somethings couldn't stop fidgeting with their napkin. Last dates where the silence between 2 people was louder than any argument. I've seen families celebrating graduations, promotions, new babies. I've seen families fighting so viciously that we had to ask them to leave. I've watched love bloom and love die, all while delivering breadsticks and refilling water glasses. But in all those years, through all those thousands of meals, all those countless moments of human connection and disconnection, there's one story that haunts me more than any other. Edward Chen's story. The story of a man who came to our restaurant every single Friday night for 25 years, who reserved table 12, our best table, right by the window overlooking Morrison Street, for 4 people every single week, who ordered 4 complete meals every single time, and who sat completely alone every single week for 1,300 consecutive Friday nights, waiting for children who never came. Not once, not in 25 years. Let me take you back to the beginning. September 1997. I remember the exact date because it was September 4th, a Thursday, and it was my daughter Elena's first day of kindergarten. I just dropped her off that morning, watching her little backpack disappear through those big school doors, trying not to cry, and then I came to work for the evening shift, my eyes still a little red, my heart still a little tender from that milestone. The reservation book showed a new name for Friday night. 7 o'clock. Table 12. Edward Chen. Party of 4. I was assigned to Section 3 that week, which included Table 12. So when Friday evening came, I was the one watching the door when Edward Chen walked in for the very first time. I remember him so clearly. Asian man, somewhere in his early 60s I guessed, though I learned later he was exactly 61 years old. He wore a dark gray suit, not expensive, but well-maintained, pressed carefully, the kind of suit a man wears when he wants to show respect. Navy blue tie. Black shoes polished to a shine. His hair was mostly black then, just starting to gray at the temple. He carried himself with a quiet dignity, but there was something in his eyes, a nervousness and anticipation, a hope that made my heart squeeze a little even before I knew his story. He approached the hostess stand. Reservation for Chen. Party of 4. Table 12. Rosa, our hostess, checked the book. Yes, Mr. Chen. Right this way. Will the rest of your party be arriving soon? My children. Yes. They should be here any minute now. Traffic, you know. Friday evening in Portland. Rosa led him to table 12. He walked slowly, looking around the restaurant like he was memorizing every detail. The exposed brick walls, the Italian landscape painting, the soft yellow lighting from the pendant lamp, the wine bottles lining the shelves. He nodded to himself, like he was satisfied this was the right place. He sat down in the chair facing the door. The chair where he would sit every single Friday for the next 25 years. Always the same chair. Always facing the entrance. Always watching for his children to walk through. I gave him a few minutes to settle, then approached with menus and water. Good evening, sir. Welcome to Marco's. My name is Maria. I'll be taking care of you tonight. Are you waiting for the rest of your party before ordering? He looked up at me with such a warm, genuine smile. Yes, please. My 3 children, Jennifer, Michael, and David. They're running a bit late, but they'll be here very soon. We're having a family dinner. First time in a while, actually. I'm so looking forward to it. The way he said it, the pure joy in his voice, the excitement radiating from him. I smiled back. That's wonderful. Family dinners are special. I'll bring bread and water for everyone while you wait. Thank you. That's very kind. I brought a basket of warm focaccia bread. Marco makes it fresh every day. Rosemary and olive oil. The smell fills the whole restaurant. And 4 glasses of water with lemon. Edward arranged the place settings carefully, making sure each of his children's spots looked perfect. He moved the fork a little to the left, straightened a napkin, adjusted the water glass. Small, tender gestures of a father preparing for his children's arrival. 15 minutes passed. I checked on him. Still waiting, Mr. Chen? Yes. You know how Friday traffic can be, coming from all different directions. They'll be here. 30 minutes. I came back. He was watching the door intensely now, turning to look every time it opened, his face lighting up with hope and then dimming with disappointment when it wasn't them. Mr. Chin, would you like to order an appetizer while you wait? Maybe some bruschetta or calamari. Oh, no thank you. I want to wait for them. We'll order together. As a family. The way we used to. The way he said, the way we used to. Past tense, mourning something lost, made me pause. But I just smiled and nodded. Of course. Just let me know when you're ready. 45 minutes past the reservation. The restaurant was filling up now. Friday night rush. Other servers were asking me about table 12. Maria, is that party of 4 coming or what? We have people waiting. I went back to Edward. He was still watching the door, but his posture had changed. His shoulders had dropped a little. His smile had faded. He looked smaller somehow, diminished by waiting. Mr. Chin, I don't mean to rush you, but we do have quite a wait for tables tonight. Perhaps you could try calling your children? Make sure they're on their way. He pulled out a cell phone, one of those early flip phones, bulky and basic. Dialed a number, held it to his ear. I could hear it ringing. Once, twice, 3 times, 4. Then voicemail. Hi, Jennifer. It's Dad. Just checking in. I'm at the restaurant Marco's on 5th. We had dinner plans, remember? Table 12, 7 o'clock. Just wanted to make sure you're okay. Call me back. He tried the second number. Michael, I assumed. Same result. Ringing. Voicemail. Michael, hi, it's Dad. I'm at the restaurant waiting. Everything okay? Call me when you get this. Third number. David. Voicemail again. His voice was quieter now, more uncertain. David, it's your father. I'm here at Marco's. Are you coming? Please call. He closed the phone, sat there for a moment, staring at it in his palm like it might ring. It didn't. I stood there, not sure what to say. By 8 o'clock, a full hour past his reservation time, my manager Marco came over. He's the owner's son, been running this place for 20 years, tough but fair, and he doesn't like empty tables during Friday dinner rush. Sir, Marco said, his voice gentle but firm, I understand you're waiting for your family, but we have customers waiting for tables. If your party isn't arriving, we'll need to either seat you as a single, or ask you to come back another time when everyone can make it. I watched Edward's face crumble, just for a second. A flash of devastation, of embarrassment, of something deeper and more painful than I could name, before he composed himself and nodded. I understand completely. I apologize for holding the table. I'll order now. 4-4. They might still come, you see. They might just be very late. I'd like their meals to be ready when they arrive. Marco looked at me, then back at Edward. Something in Edward's face must have moved him because he nodded. Of course, sir. Take your time ordering. Edward ordered 4 complete meals. He knew exactly what each child would want. Didn't even need to look at the menu. Jennifer will have the fettuccine alfredo. She's always loved pasta. Michael will have the chicken marsala with extra mushroom. He's particular about mushroom. David will have the lasagna. That's his favorite. And I'll have the osso buco. We'll all share the caprese salad to start. And could we have a bottle of the Chianti? The 1994 if you have it. That was a good year. I wrote it all down, my heart breaking a little with each item. He was ordering a family feast, a celebration meal, for children who weren't there. I'll put that in right away, Mr. Chen. Thank you, Maria. You've been very patient with me. I brought the meals out 20 minutes later. 4 beautiful plates. Marco's kitchen doesn't do anything halfway. Every dish was perfect, garnished beautifully, steaming hot, the kind of food that makes you understand why people call Italian cooking love on a plate. I arranged them carefully. The capris in the center where everyone could reach. The 4 entrees each in front of a chair. Wine glass poured for each setting. Edward sat there, staring at the abundance in front of him. 4 complete dinners. Beautiful food. And he was utterly, completely alone. He picked up his fork, cut a small piece of the osso buco, brought it to his mouth, chewed slowly, swallowed, set the fork down. Then he just sat there, looking at the 3 other plates. Full meals. Getting cold. Nobody to eat them. I couldn't stand it. I approached. Mr. Chen, the food is delicious, but it would be a shame for it to go to waste. Would you like me to box up the meals your children didn't make it for? He looked up at me, and I saw tears in his eyes. Not falling, just there, shimmering. Yes, please, that would be kind. I'll take them home. Maybe they can have them tomorrow. When I see them. I boxed up 3 complete dinners. Fettuccine Alfredo, chicken marsala, lasagna, the capri salad mostly untouched, the wine bottle 3/4 full. The bill came to $127.84. Edward paid cash, left me a $40 tip, more than 30%, generous for a man eating alone. As he gathered the boxes and prepared to leave, Maria, thank you for your kindness, for not making me feel foolish, for understanding. Of course, Mr. Chen. I hope everything is okay with your family. I'm sure it is. They're just busy. Important lives. I understand. Maybe next time. He left, carrying 3 boxes of untouched food into the Friday night darkness. I stood there thinking, that was sad. Plans fall through. Kids get busy. It happens. Poor man. Hopefully next time they'll make it. I had no idea there would be a next time, let alone 1,299 more next time. The following Friday, September 12, 1997, I was checking the reservation book before my shift started, and there it was again. Edward Chen. Party of 4. Table 12. 7 o'clock. My heart did a little skip. Good, I thought. His family must have felt bad about missing last week. They're making it up to him this week. This time they'll come. This time the family dinner will actually happen. 7 o'clock came. Edward walked through the door. Same gray suit. Same polished shoes. Same hopeful expression. Same nervous energy. Alone. No children behind him. No family following. Just Edward. Again. Rosa seated him at table 12. He sat in the same chair. Faced the door. Arranged the empty place settings. Waited. I brought water and menus. Good evening, Mr. Chen. Welcome back. Hello, Maria. Lovely to see you again. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes this time. There was a weariness there, subtle but present. Are your children joining you tonight? Yes, they are. Running a bit late again, I think, but they'll be here. Jennifer called this week, said she'd definitely make it tonight. I nodded. Wonderful. I'll give you some time then. 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. I watched him watch the door. Watched hope rise and fall with each person who entered. Watched him check his phone. Watched him try to call. Watched him leave another voicemail. By 8 o'clock, it was clear they weren't coming. Again. He ordered 4 meals. Again. Different dishes this time. Chicken parmesan for Jennifer, veal piccata for Michael, seafood linguine for David, eggplant parmesan for himself. But the same pattern. 4 complete dinners. 1 person eating. 3 meals going cold. I boxed them up. He paid. Tipped generously. Left carrying 3 containers of food for children who'd stood him up twice in a row. As he walked out, something in my chest tightened. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was starting to feel like something else. Something darker. The 3rd Friday, September 19th, 1997, Edward came again. Same reservation. Same table. Same routine. Same result. No children. The 4th Friday, September 26th, 1997, Edward came again. By now, the other servers were noticing. Tony, who'd been working at Marco's for 15 years, pulled me aside. Maria, what's the deal with the old Chinese guy who orders 4 dinners and eats alone? His last name is Chen. He's waiting for his kids. They coming. Not so far. How many times has this happened? For weeks in a row now. Tony whistled low. That's rough. Think he'll keep coming. I looked at Edward, sitting alone at table 12, watching the door with that painful mixture of hope and resignation that was becoming familiar. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I think he will." And I was right. By the end of September 1997, Edward Chen had come to Marco's Italian Kitchen 4 times. 4 Friday nights, 4 reservations for 4 people, 4 times sitting completely alone, 16 meals ordered, 4 eaten by Edward, 12 boxed up and taken home. October came. Every Friday, like clockwork, Edward arrived. Alone. Ordered for 4. Ate by himself. Left with boxes. November came. Same pattern. I started recognizing his routine. The way he'd pause at the entrance and take a deep breath before walking in. The way he'd sit with his back perfectly straight for the first 15 minutes, full of hope. The way his posture would gradually slump as time passed and nobody came. The way he'd force himself to eat a few bites, even though I could tell he'd lost his appetite. The way he'd carefully count out the cash for payment, always exact change, always a generous tip. December arrived. Christmas season. The restaurant was decorated with twinkling lights and garland. Frank Sinatra crooning holiday songs from the speakers. The Friday before Christmas, December 19th, 1997, I genuinely thought, surely tonight, surely for Christmas, for the holidays, his children will come. This is family time. This is when families gather. Surely they won't let their father sit alone right before Christmas. Edward arrived at 7 o'clock in his gray suit, but this time he'd added a festive touch, a red tie with small Christmas trees on it. He carried a shopping bag, and when he sat at table 12, I saw him place 3 wrapped presents underneath the table, 1 for each child. My heart broke right there. He'd brought them Christmas gifts. He was so certain they'd come. The restaurant was packed with holiday parties, groups of coworkers celebrating the season, families with children in nice clothes, the kids bouncing with excitement, couples on date night, holding hands across tables decorated with poinsettias, laughter and warmth and togetherness everywhere. And Edward, sitting alone at table 12, surrounded by empty chairs, watching the door with desperate hope while Christmas music played and everyone around him celebrated with the people they love. 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30. Nobody came. He ordered 4 meals, the special holiday menu, prime rib and lobster tail, expensive and extravagant, and when I brought them out, he just stared at the plates for a long moment before picking up his fork. He ate maybe 3 bites. That was it. 3 bites of a $40 entree. The rest sat there, growing cold, while he gazed at those 3 empty chairs and the wrapped presents underneath the table. When I boxed up the food, 3 complete holiday meals, untouched, he asked me quietly, "Maria, would you mind terribly if I left these gifts here? Just in case they come by later after I'm gone? Could you give them to them if they show up?" Oh God. The hope in his voice. The desperate belief that maybe they'd still come, even after he left. "Of course, Mr. Chen. I'll keep them behind the bar. If anyone comes asking for you, I'll make sure they get the present." "Thank you. That's very kind. Tell them their father loves them very much. Tell them Merry Christmas." "I will." He left. I put the 3 wrapped presents behind the bar. They sat there for 2 weeks, through Christmas, through New Year's, untouched, unclaimed. Nobody ever came for them. Eventually, I asked Edward what to do with them, and he told me to donate them to charity. He couldn't bear to take them back home. That's when I knew. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't a miscommunication or a scheduling conflict that would eventually resolve itself. This was abandonment. This was 3 adult children who had decided their father wasn't worth their time. And this was a father who refused to accept that reality. January 1998. Edward came every Friday. February, March, April. Through rain and snow and early spring sunshine, Edward Chen showed up at Marco's Italian Kitchen every single Friday night at 7 o'clock. Reserved table 12 for 4 people and sat alone. By May 1998, 8 months into this pattern, I couldn't stay silent anymore. My conscience wouldn't let me just serve food and say nothing. So one Friday, after he'd ordered his 4 meals and was waiting for them to arrive, I sat down in one of the empty chairs across from Mr. Chen. "May I ask you something personal? You can tell me it's none of my business, and you'd be absolutely right, but I have to ask." He looked at me with those kind, sad eyes. "Of course, Maria. What is it?" "Your children. The ones you're waiting for. Do they know you're here every Friday?" "Oh yes. Yes, I call them every week. Usually on Wednesday or Thursday. I tell them I have a reservation at Marco's for Friday night 7 o'clock, and they're welcome to join me. I always invite them. Every single week." "And what do they say when you call?" His face did something complicated. A mixture of pain and pride, shame and love. resignation, and stubbornness. They say they'll try. They say they're very busy. Jennifer's a lawyer. Did I mention that? Corporate law, very demanding hours. Michael has his own family, 2 boys, soccer practices, and school events. David travels constantly for his tech company. Sometimes he's not even in the country. They have important lives, successful lives. I'm very proud of them. But they don't come. He was quiet for a long moment. No, they don't come. When was the last time you saw them? Before this. Before you started coming here. My wife's funeral. 3 years ago. May of 1995. Evelyn died of ovarian cancer. Very sudden, very aggressive. 6 months from diagnosis to death. The kids all came for the funeral. We were together for 3 days. The viewing, the service, the burial, the reception afterward. It was the last time we were all together as a family, sitting around a table, sharing a meal, the way we used to when they were children. His voice cracked slightly on that last part. After Evelyn died, I was lost. The house was too quiet. The dinners were too lonely. We used to come here, Marcos, when the kids were teenagers and young adults, before they moved away for college and careers. Friday nights were our family dinner night. We'd all pile into the car and come here, sit at this exact table, table 12. Evelyn loved the window seat, and we'd talk about our weeks and share stories and just be together. Those were the happiest times of my life. Tears were rolling down his cheeks now, quiet and steady. So after she died, I thought maybe we could recreate that. Maybe Friday family dinners could bring us back together. Maybe if I made the reservation, set the table, invited them every week, eventually it would become routine again. Eventually they'd remember how good it felt to be family. Eventually they'd come. But they haven't come. Not in 8 months. No. But I keep hoping. I keep believing that next Friday will be the Friday. That's all I have left, Maria. Hope. If I stop hoping, if I stop coming here, if I stop setting this table for 4, then it's really over. Then I've lost them completely. And I can't accept that. I won't accept that. I sat there not knowing what to say. What could I say? That his children were selfish? That his hope was futile? That he was wasting his time and money on people who clearly didn't care? Instead, I asked, do they know what this means to you? Have you told them how much you need this? I don't want to guilt them. I don't want them to come out of obligation. I want them to come because they want to. Because they choose to. Because family matters to them the way it matters to me. That conversation changed something in me. From that day forward, I wasn't just Edward's server anymore. I became his witness. His chronicler. The keeper of his story. I started writing everything down in a small notebook I kept in my apron. Not just for myself, though I think I needed to document it, needed to process what I was watching unfold week after week, but because some part of me knew this mattered. Some part of me understood that what was happening at table 12 every Friday night was important, was significant, was something that needed to be remembered and recorded. June 5th, 1998. Edward Chen. Party of 4. Table 12. 7 p.m. Arrived alone. Waited 45 minutes. Ordered 4 meals. Lasagna, chicken piccata, shrimp scampi, veal marsala. Ate approximately 1/4 of his lasagna. Remaining 3 meals box. Paid $142.76. Tipped $30. Left at 9:15 p.m. carrying 3 boxes. Week after week, I documented. The notebook filled up. I started taking photos too. Not of Edward directly. That felt invasive and cruel. But of table 12. The empty chairs. The untouched place settings. The 4 meals cooling on the table. The wine bottle with 3 empty glasses. I took these photos after Edward left, before we cleared the table, capturing the evidence of absence. I didn't know why I was building this archive. I just knew I had to. Year 1 became year 2. 1998 became 1999. Edward came every single Friday. He missed 1 week, the week he had minor surgery for a hernia, and he called the restaurant from the hospital to apologize for breaking his reservation and to make sure we'd hold table 12 for him the following week. 52 Fridays became 104. 104 became 156. The numbers kept climbing. The empty chairs stayed empty. Other regular customers started noticing. Mrs. Patterson, who came every Tuesday with her book club, asked me one day, "Who's that gentleman who's always alone at the window table on Fridays? I've seen him dozens of times. Is he waiting for someone?" "His children," I told her. "Do they ever come?" "No." She was quiet for a moment, then said something I've never forgotten. "That's the loneliest thing I've ever heard. A man can be surrounded by people in a crowded restaurant and still be completely alone because the only people he wants there are absent." That's a special kind of heartbreak. She was right. It was a special kind of heartbreak. And I was watching it happen in slow motion, week after week, year after year. By year 3, September 2000, other staff members started asking questions. New servers would be assigned to Section 3 and would come to me confused. Table 12 ordered 4 meals, but there's only one person sitting there. Did I mess up? Where's the rest of the party? And I'd have to explain. That's Mr. Chen. He's been coming here for 3 years. Every Friday. He orders for 4 because he's hoping his children will show up. They never do. Just bring all 4 meals and box up the 3 he doesn't eat. He'll pay for everything and tip well. Don't ask him about it. Don't make him explain. Just let him have his ritual. Some servers found it sad. Some found it pathetic. Some found it infuriating. They'd watch Edward sit alone and mutter angrily about ungrateful children who didn't deserve a father like that. I found it all of those things, but mostly I found it unbearable to watch and impossible to stop watching. Year 4. Year 5. Edward was aging visibly now. The black hair had become mostly gray. The straight posture had developed a slight stoop. The confident walk had slowed to a careful shuffle. He'd started using a cane after a fall in his driveway, but he never missed a Friday. Rain, snow, heat, cold. Edward was there at 7 o'clock, sitting at table 12 waiting. In March 2001, 3.5 years into this routine, something different happened. Edward came in looking more animated than I'd seen him in months. His face was bright, almost glowing. He was practically vibrating with excitement. Maria, he called to me before he'd even sat down. Jennifer called. She actually called me back this time. She said she's going to try very hard to come by tonight. She has a late meeting, but she thinks she can make it by 8 o'clock. Isn't that wonderful? My heart soared and broke simultaneously. After 182 weeks of waiting, finally one of them was going to show up. Finally, Edward's hope was going to be rewarded. Finally, this painful pattern was going to break. That's amazing news, Mr. Chen. Should I hold off on taking your order until she arrives? Yes, let's wait for her. And Maria, could we have a bottle of the good wine? The Barolo. I want this to be special. I brought the Barolo, a $75 bottle, expensive for a restaurant, and set it at the table. Edward looked at it with such pride and joy, like he was preparing for the most important dinner of his life. 7 o'clock passed. 7:30. Edward sat there, staring at the door with an intensity I'd never seen before. Every time it opened, he'd sit up straighter, lean forward, his face illuminating with hope. Every time it wasn't Jennifer, his face would fall, but then he'd resettle himself, check his watch, and prepare to hope again. 8 o'clock. The time Jennifer had said she might arrive. Edward called her. I could hear it ringing from where I stood. Once, twice, 3 times. Voicemail. Hi, sweetheart, it's Dad. I'm at Marco's, just like we discussed. Are you close? I have your favorite wine waiting. Call me back when you get this. 8:15. Another call. Another voicemail. This one shorter, less confident. 8:30. His hand was shaking as he dialed the 3rd time. Voicemail again. He didn't leave a message this time. Just closed the phone and set it on the table and stared at it like it had betrayed him. 9 o'clock. The restaurant was starting to empty. The Friday dinner rush was ending. Other tables were paying checks, leaving, going home to their families, to their actual Friday nights with actual present people who'd actually shown up. Edward sat at table 12 with an unopened $75 bottle of wine and 4 empty place settings. I approached carefully. Mr. Chen, we're going to be closing soon. Would you like to order now? He looked up at me and the expression on his face will haunt me forever. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even disappointment. It was defeat. Pure, absolute, soul-crushing defeat. Like something fundamental had broken inside him. She said she'd come, he whispered. She promised. She said this time would be different. Why would she promise if she didn't mean it? I had no answer. I just stood there, this middle-aged waitress in a sauce-stained apron, watching this elderly man's heart break in real time over cold breadsticks and an unopened bottle of expensive wine. Should I still order for 4? In case she's just very late. The hope in that question, the desperate, irrational, painful hope, made me want to scream. Whatever you'd like, Mr. Chen. He ordered for 4. Different meals than usual. Jennifer's favorites, he said. Fettuccine Alfredo extra creamy. Caesar salad with anchovies on the side. Tiramisu for dessert. He wanted everything perfect for when she arrived. She never arrived. By 10 o'clock, 3 hours after he'd sat down, 2 hours after Jennifer said she might come, I boxed up 4 complete, untouched meals. Edward hadn't eaten anything. Not one bite. He'd spent 3 hours waiting and hoping and checking his phone, And now he was leaving with 4 boxes of cold Italian food and an unopened bottle of expensive wine that was supposed to celebrate a reunion that never happened. As he gathered his things, moving slowly like he'd aged a decade in one evening, he said to me, "Maria, don't write this down in your notebook as a failure. Please." She tried. Something must have come up. An emergency. Work crisis. Something important. She wanted to come. I know she wanted to come. This doesn't mean she doesn't love me. The fact that he knew I was documenting everything, that he'd seen me writing in my notebook all these months and never said anything until now, made this moment even more devastating. Of course, Mr. Chen. I'm sure something came up. But we both knew. We both knew nothing had come up except that his daughter had chosen something. Anything. Over sitting with her father for 1 hour. We both knew that promise meant nothing. We both knew this was never going to change. And yet the next Friday, Edward came back. Same table. Same time. Same hope. Year 6. Year 7. Year 8. I documented every single one. My notebook became notebooks, plural. 3 thick spiral bounds filled with entry, dates, times, meals ordered, observations, Edward's changing appearance, his deteriorating health, his stubborn, relentless, heartbreaking hope. 416 Fridays, 1,664 meals ordered, 416 meals eaten, 1,248 meals boxed up and carried home alone. My coworkers stopped asking questions. Edward had become a fixture, a known entity, the sad man at table 12. New employees would be trained. That's Mr. Chen. He orders for 4, sits alone, been doing it for years. Just be kind and don't make a fuss. By year 10, September 2007, I couldn't take it anymore. A decade of watching this. A decade of serving food to empty chairs. A decade of Edward's increasingly frail body carrying boxes of wasted meals into the darkness. I looked up Jennifer Chen online. It wasn't hard. Lawyer, Portland, corporate law, exactly as Edward had described. Her firm's website had her photo, contact information, everything. I called her office during my afternoon break before the dinner shift. Jennifer Chen's office. This is Amanda speaking. Hi, I need to speak with Ms. Chen about a personal family matter. Ms. Chen is in a meeting. Can I take a message? Please tell her this is about her father, Edward Chen, and it's urgent. 2 minutes later, Jennifer came on the line. This is Jennifer Chen. Who am I speaking with? Is my father okay? My name is Maria Rodriguez. I'm a server at Marco's Italian Kitchen. Your father is physically fine, but I'm calling because I've been watching something for 10 years now that I can't stay silent about anymore. I don't understand. What are you talking about? Your father comes to this restaurant every Friday night. Has been for 10 years. He reserves a table for 4 people, him and you and your 2 brothers. He orders 4 complete meals. And he sits there completely alone for 2 or 3 hours waiting for you. Every week. For 10 years. 520 Friday nights. He orders 2,080 meals. He eats 520 of them by himself. The other 1,560 get boxed up and carried home because you never come. Not once in 10 years have you shown up. Silence on the other end. Long, heavy silence. Chen, are you still there? I didn't know he was actually sitting there, waiting like that. He calls and says he has reservations on Fridays, but I thought he was just eating dinner. Out. I didn't realize he was ordering for us. That he was actually waiting. He's waiting. Every week. For 10 years. Your father is 71 years old now. He walks with a cane. His health is declining. And he spends every Friday night hoping this will be the Friday his children finally show up. Maybe you should come. Just once. In 10 years. Just once. More silence. Then, it's complicated. I have a very demanding job. My brothers live out of state. We all have our own families, our own lives. And your father has no family and no life except Friday nights at a restaurant where he sits alone ordering food for children who don't care. Is that really the life you want him to have? Is that really the daughter you want to be? Who do you think you are, calling me and judging? I'm someone who has watched your father wait for you for 3,640 hours over the past 10 years. I'm someone who has documented every single Friday. I'm someone who cares more about your father's loneliness than you apparently do. I'm someone who thinks you should be ashamed. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd crossed a line. Massively. But I couldn't bring myself to regret it. That Friday, I watched the door with as much hope as Edward. Please, I thought. Please let her come. Please let this phone call have meant something. 7 o'clock. Edward arrived. Alone. 7:15. 7:30. 8 o'clock. No Jennifer. No brothers. Nobody. Edward ordered his 4 meals. He'd started rotating through the menu by this point, trying different combinations every week like he was still discovering what his children might enjoy if they ever actually showed up to taste it. That night it was seafood risotto, veal scallopini, chicken saltimbocca, and eggplant rollatini. As I set down the 4 plates in front of the 4 chairs, 1 occupied, 3 empty as always, Edward looked up at me with something different in his eyes. Not hope this time. Something closer to resignation. Or maybe acceptance. Or maybe just exhaustion. "Maria, I know you called Jennifer this week." My heart stopped. "Mr. Chennai." She called me. Told me a server from Marco's had contacted her. Said you were very direct. Told her I've been waiting here for 10 years. I'm sorry. I overstepped. It wasn't my place. I just couldn't watch any more without. He held up his hand, gentle, not angry. "Please don't apologize. You did what my children should have done years ago. You cared. You noticed. You acted. That's more than they've done in a decade." Did she say she'd come? Is that why you're... No. She's not coming. She was angry I'd told someone outside the family about our situation. Said it was embarrassing. Said her brothers are upset I've been making a spectacle at a public restaurant. Asked me to stop doing this, actually. Said it's pathetic and it's making them look bad. The words hit me like a physical blow. Making them look bad. Them. Not their father sitting alone for 10 years. Them. What did you tell her? I told her I'd think about it. He smiled sadly. But we both know I won't stop. I can't stop. This is all I have. These Friday nights. This table. This hope. If I give this up, I give up on them completely. And I'm not ready to do that. I may never be ready to do that. Even if it is pathetic. Even if I am making a spectacle. Even if they never, ever come. I sat down across from him. Something I'd started doing occasionally over the years, sharing a few minutes at that table of empty chairs and cooling food. "You're not pathetic, Mr. Chen. You're loyal. You're hopeful. You're loving. Those aren't weaknesses, even if your children treat them that way. But am I fooling myself? 10 years, Maria. 10 years of Friday nights. At what point does hope become delusion? At what point does love become foolishness? I don't know. But I know that the alternative, giving up, accepting that your children don't care, stopping this ritual, would break something in you that can't be fixed. At least this way you're trying. At least this way, you haven't surrendered." He nodded slowly, cutting a piece of his eggplant rollatini but not eating it, just moving it around his plate. "My wife Evelyn, before she died, made me promise something. She was in the hospital, final days, barely conscious. But she gripped my hand and said, 'Don't let them forget. Don't let them forget their family. Don't let them drift away completely. Promise me you'll try.' So I promised. And this," he gestured at the empty chairs, the untouched meals, the decade of waiting. "This is me trying. This is me keeping my promise to her. Even if it doesn't work. Even if they never come. At least I tried. At least I can tell her when I see her again that I tried." Tears were streaming down both our faces now. Other diners were glancing over, probably wondering why a server was sitting and crying with a customer. I didn't care. "She'd be proud of you," I told him. "Your wife, Evelyn. She'd be proud of your loyalty. Even if your children don't appreciate it, she would." I hope so. I really hope so. Year 11. Year 12. Year 13. Edward kept coming. I kept documenting. His children kept not showing up. By year 15, 2012, Edward was 76 years old. The cane had become a walker. The slow shuffle had become barely able to walk. Sometimes other customers would help him to his chair, steadying his arm, moving carefully. He'd thank them profusely, settle himself at table 12, and begin his Friday night vigil. The meals he ordered got smaller. His appetite was nearly gone. Age and disappointment and loneliness killing his hunger. He'd order 4 entrees but barely touch his own, let alone finish it. Most nights he'd eat maybe a quarter of his meal, sometimes less. But he kept ordering 4 complete dinners anyway. Kept setting 4 places. Kept waiting. Year 16, 17, 18. The numbers climbed relentless. 832 Fridays. 936 Fridays. 1,040 Fridays. By year 20, 2017, I'd taken over 1,000 photographs of table 12. Empty chairs captured from every angle, every season, every time of night. Spring evenings with sunset through the window illuminating 3 unused place settings. Winter nights with frost on the glass and cold food growing colder. Summer twilights when the restaurant stayed light until 9 p.m. and Edward would sit in golden glow surrounded by absinthe. Fall evenings with rain streaking the windows and Edward's reflection showing a man waiting in the glass. I'd filled 6 notebooks with entries, dates, times, meals, observations, conversation, the slow deterioration of Edward's health and the unchanging absence of his children. I didn't know what I was going to do with this archive. I just knew it mattered. Knew it meant something. Knew that someone someday needed to see what I'd witnessed. Year 22, 2019, COVID started appearing in the news. By March 2020, everything shut down. Restaurants closed. The world stopped. For the first time in 23 years, there would be no Friday night dinners at Marco's. Not for anyone, including Edward. I called him. We'd exchanged numbers years ago, an unofficial understanding that I'd watch out for him. Mr. Chen, I'm checking in. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I'm fine, Maria. Just lonely. But I've been lonely for 23 years, so I suppose I'm used to it by now. He tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. I miss the restaurant, though. I miss our Friday nights. Isn't that strange? Missing sitting alone at a table ordering food for people who never come. You're not missing the meal, Mr. Chen. You're missing the ritual. The hope. The purpose. Yes, that's exactly it. Without Friday nights at Marco's, I don't know what I'm waiting for anymore. The waiting has become the point. Does that make sense? It makes perfect sense. When restaurants reopened in summer 2020, Edward was there the first Friday we opened our doors. 84 years old. Oxygen tank now in addition to the walker. Mask covering his face. Moving so slowly it took him 5 full minutes to get from the entrance to table 12. But he made it. He sat down. He ordered 4 meals. He waited. Nobody came. Year 24. Year 25. 2021, 2022. Edward was 86 years old now, and it was clear to me, to the staff, probably to Edward himself, though he'd never admit it, that he was dying. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but slowly, the way old people die when their bodies have simply had enough, when living becomes harder than not living, when each day requires more strength than they have to give. But still, every Friday Edward came. Some weeks I'd call him Thursday night just to make sure he was alive, that he'd be there tomorrow, that this Friday wouldn't be the first Friday table 12 sat empty. And every Friday he'd answer, "Of course I'll be there, Maria." 7 o'clock. As always, by summer 2022, August, the heat oppressive and thick, Edward could barely breathe even with the oxygen. His hands shook when he tried to hold his fork. His eyes had trouble focusing. But every Friday he was there. Friday, August 19th, 2022. A date I'll remember forever because somehow, deep in my bones, I knew it would be the last. Edward arrived at 7 o'clock. His driver, he couldn't drive himself anymore, couldn't walk from a parking space, needed someone to bring him door to door, helped him from the car to his walker, from the walker through the restaurant entrance, slowly, painfully slowly to table 12. I was there immediately. "Mr. Chen, let me help." Together we got him settled in his chair, arranged his oxygen tank, made sure he was comfortable. He was breathing hard just from the effort of walking 20 feet. "Your usual, Mr. Chen?" He tried to speak but couldn't get enough air. Just nodded, pointed weakly to the 3 empty chairs. "Yes. 4 meals. Like always. I brought water, bread." 4 place settings, even though we both knew, had always known, that 3 of them would remain untouched. The meals came. 4 beautiful plates. By now, after 25 years, the kitchen staff knew Edward's order by heart, knew it was going to 3 empty chairs, knew the tragedy they were participating in. Sometimes I'd catch the line cooks looking out at table 12, shaking their heads, muttering about ungrateful children. Edward took 2 bites of his chicken marsala. That was it. 2 small bites. Then he set down his fork and just sat there, breathing laboriously, staring at the 3 empty chairs with an expression I'd never seen before. Not hope. Not disappointment. Not resignation. Something else. Something like peace. Or maybe just exhaustion. Or maybe acceptance that this was it. This was how it would end. That after 25 years and 1,300 Fridays, nothing had changed and nothing would ever change. I came over, knelt beside his chair so I could look at him eye level without him having to strain his neck. "Mr. Chen, are you okay? Do I need to call someone?" He looked at me, really looked at me, focused and present in a way he hadn't been for weeks, and said, his voice barely a whisper through the oxygen mask, "They're not coming, are they?" And oh God, the way he said it. Not a question. A statement. An acknowledgement. 25 years of denial and hope and refusal to accept reality, finally crumbling. No, Mr. Chin. They're not coming. They never were going to come, were they? All these years. All these Fridays. I was waiting for something that was never going to happen. I wanted to lie, wanted to protect him, wanted to offer some comfort. But after 25 years of watching this man's hopeless hope, I owed him the truth. No, they were never going to come. I'm so sorry. He nodded slowly. Tears leaked from his closed eyes, running down his weathered cheeks into his oxygen mask. I just wanted one more dinner. One more Friday night with my family. Like when Evelyn was alive. Like when they were young and we were all together and we loved each other. That's all I wanted. Just one more time. I know. I know you did. Was I foolish? 25 years, Maria. Was I a fool? You were hopeful. You were loving. You were loyal. Those aren't foolish things even if your children didn't deserve them. Will you box up the food? One last time. Of course. And Maria? Thank you. For all these years. For being here. For seeing me. For documenting my wait. For caring when nobody else. Thank you for being my witness. You're welcome, Mr. Chen. It was my honor. I boxed up the 4 meals, his barely touched, theirs completely untouched, and helped him gather his things. His driver came to collect him, helped him to the car. Edward looked back at table 12 one last time, raised his hand in a small wave. Goodbye to the restaurant, goodbye to the ritual, goodbye to 25 years of Fridays, and left. I stood at the window watching his car disappear into the August night, and I knew with absolute certainty I'd never see him again. The next Friday, August 26, 2022, I checked the reservation book multiple times. Edward Chin, party of 4, table 12, 7 o'clock. The reservation was there, as it had been every single Friday for 25 years. But 7 o'clock came and went. No Edward. 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30. Table 12 sat empty for the first time in 1,300 consecutive Fridays. I called his number. Rang, rang, rang. A woman answered. Hello. Hi, this is Maria Rodriguez from Marco's Italian Kitchen. I'm calling for Edward Chen. Is he available? Silence. Then crying. Then, this is Jennifer, Edward's daughter. I'm so sorry. My father passed away 3 days ago, Tuesday morning. Heart failure. He died at home in his sleep. The restaurant sounds faded away. All I could hear was my own heartbeat, my own breathing, and the distant voice of this woman. This woman who'd let her father wait for her for 25 years, telling me he was dead. I'm so sorry for your loss. I heard myself say automatically, the words hollow and meaningless. There's a funeral. Next Friday, September 2nd. You're welcome to come if you'd like. I know you were important to him. He talked about you. About Marcos. About Friday nights. He talked about them until the very end. I'll be there. I hung up. Walked to table 12. Sat down in Edward's chair. The chair he'd occupied for 1,300 Friday nights. The chair where he'd waited and hoped and eventually accepted that his children would never come. And I cried. For Edward. For all those wasted Fridays. For all that unreturned love. For 25 years of waiting that ended with him dying alone anyway. The funeral was September 2nd, 2022. A Friday. Of course it was a Friday. Even in death, Edward's Fridays mattered. Small chapel, maybe 70 people total. I recognized some of them. Other regulars from Marco's who'd watched Edward over the years, who'd asked about him, who'd witnessed his lonely vigil. But most were strangers. Friends from Edward's old job, neighbors, people from his church, people whose connection to him I'd never know. And in the front row, sitting together for the first time in decades, were 3 people I'd never seen in person but felt like I knew intimately from 25 years of Edward's one-sided conversations about them. Jennifer, Michael, and David Chen. Jennifer looked to be in her early 50s now, well-dressed in expensive black, her face composed but tight. Michael, late 40s maybe, in a dark suit, checking his phone during the service. David, mid-40s, sitting rigid and uncomfortable like he wanted to be anywhere else. I sat in the back, watching them, feeling a rage build in my chest that I hadn't expected. These 3 people, these successful, healthy, capable adults, sitting front row at their father's funeral, accepting condolences, playing the part of grieving children. Where were you? I wanted to scream. Where were you for 1,300 Fridays? Where were you when he waited? Where were you when he hoped? Where were you when he died? The service was generic. The pastor clearly hadn't known Edward well. He spoke in platitudes about a devoted father and hardworking man and loved by his family. Words that meant nothing. Words that were demonstrably untrue. Nobody got up to share memories. Nobody told stories. The service lasted 23 minutes start to finish, perfunctory and empty, just like the 25 years of Friday nights that preceded it. Afterward, people filed out to the reception. I waited until most had left, then approached the three siblings standing together near the exit, looking exhausted and relieved it was over. Jennifer, she turned. Yes, I'm Maria Rodriguez, from Marcos. Recognition flashed across her face. Oh, you're the one who called me years ago. About my father. Yes. Can I speak with you? All three of you? Privately. They exchanged glances, uncertain, uncomfortable, but nodded. We found a small room off the main chapel, closed the door. Just the four of us. I set my bag on the table, pulled out everything I'd brought. The evidence. The archive. 25 years of documentation. I need to show you something. Something about your father. Something you need to see and understand because apparently 25 years of phone calls from him weren't enough. I spread it across the table. All of it. Everything. 6 notebooks. Every page filled with entries, dates, times, Edward's arrival, his orders, his waiting, his departures. 1,300 documented Friday night. 1,040 photographs. Table 12 from every angle. Empty chairs in every season. 4 place settings with 1 person. Untouched meals growing cold. Wine glasses that were never lifted. 25 years of absence captured in images. 1,300 receipts. Every single one saved. Organized chronologically. Edward Chin. Party of 4. Table 12. 4 meals ordered. Bill paid. Generous tip left. Week after week. Month after month. Year after year. What is this? Michael asked, staring at the pile of evidence. This is your father's last 25 years. This is what he did every Friday night from September 1997 to August 2022. He went to Marco's Italian Kitchen. He reserved table 12 for 4 people, himself and the 3 of you. He ordered 4 complete meals. And he sat there alone, waiting for you to show up. Every single Friday. For 25 years. 1,300 Friday night. You never came. Not once in 25 years did any of you show up. I started going through the evidence methodically, forcing them to look, to see, to understand. This is week 1. September 5th, 1997. Your father's first Friday. He waited an hour. Ordered for 4. You didn't come. He left with 3 boxes of food. This is week 52. 1 year. He'd waited 52 times. You still hadn't come. Week 104. 2 years. Still waiting. Week 208. 4 years. Still alone. Week 520. 10 years. A decade of Friday night. Still hoping you'd show up. I pulled out specific photographs. This is Christmas 2001. See the wrapped presents under the table? He brought you gifts. Thought you'd come for the holiday. You didn't. Those presents sat behind our bar for 2 weeks before he asked me to donate them to charity because he couldn't bear taking them home. This is his 75th birthday. March 2016. 20 years into this pattern. See how old he looks. How bent. How tired. Still there. Still waiting. This is March 2020. COVID. The restaurant had just reopened. He was high risk, elderly, should have stayed home. But he came anyway. Because Friday nights at Marco's waiting for you was more important to him than his own safety. I pulled out the final photograph. August 19th, 2022. The last Friday. Edward in his wheelchair, oxygen tank visible, barely able to breathe, staring at 3 empty chairs. This is the last time I saw your father alive. 1 week before he died. He could barely breathe, could barely eat, but he was there. At table 12, ordering 4 meals, waiting for you one more time. And you weren't there. You were never there. Not once in 1,300 Fridays. Jennifer was sobbing now. Michael's face had gone pale. David was staring at the photographs like they were burning his eyes. I documented everything because I knew somebody needed to see this. Somebody needed to understand what you did, what you chose. Every Friday for 25 years, you chose something else, work, hobbies, convenience, anything, over sitting with your father for 1 hour. 1,300 times you made that choice. 1,300 times he waited anyway. 1,300 times he hoped that this Friday would be different. Your father ordered 5,200 meals over 25 years, I continued, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. He ate 1,300 of them. Alone. The other 3,900 were for you. Meals he paid for. Meals he watched grow cold. Meals he boxed up and took home because you never showed up to eat. Do you understand what that means? 3,900 dinners. 3,900 times he set a place for you, and you left it empty. I pulled out my notebooks, opened to specific entries, made them read. March 15, 2003, Edward mentioned today that Jennifer was made partner at her firm. He was so proud. Ordered champagne to celebrate. Drank it alone. Jennifer didn't come. November 7, 2008. Edward said Michael's oldest son graduated high school. He brought a card and gift to give Michael. Michael didn't come. Edward left with the card still in his pocket. June 22, 2015, Edward had just gotten out of the hospital after a minor heart attack. He was weak, could barely walk. He came anyway. Waited 2 hours. Nobody showed up. When I asked if he'd told his children about the heart attack, he said he didn't want to worry them. My voice broke on that last one. He had a heart attack and didn't tell you because he didn't want to burden you. And you still couldn't find one Friday to have dinner with him. David finally spoke, his voice defensive, angry. We didn't know he was doing this. We didn't know he was actually sitting alone every week. Yes, you did. I slammed my hand on the table, making all three of them jump. He called you every single week. Every Wednesday or Thursday for 25 years, your father called and invited you to Friday dinner. You knew he had reservations. You knew he wanted you there. You chose not to come. That's not ignorance, that's choice. That's 1,300 conscious decisions to abandon your father. Jennifer tried to speak through her tears. We were busy. We had careers, families, responsibilities. So did he. He had responsibilities too. The responsibility to keep being a father even when his children stopped being children who cared. He had a life too. A lonely, empty life that he tried to fill with one thing. Friday night dinners with his family. Just one night a week. 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. 2 hours. Out of 168 hours in a week, he asked for 2. And you couldn't give him that. Not once in 25 years. I pulled out the receipts, started reading the totals. Your father spent $186,743.52 on these dinners over 25 years. I added it up. Every single receipt. $186,743.52 on meals that were mostly thrown away because the people he bought them for never showed up to eat. He could have saved that money, could have used it for himself. But he spent it on you anyway. On the hope of you. On the fantasy that one Friday you'd care enough to show up. Michael was crying now too. All three siblings breaking down as the weight of what I was showing them became impossible to deny or minimize or explain away. What do you want from us? David asked. He's dead. Those Fridays are gone. We can't go back. We can't fix it. What do you want? I want you to understand what you did. I want you to live with it. I want you to know that your father spent the last 25 years of his life waiting for you, and you never came. I want you to know that he died believing he'd failed as a father, that somehow he'd done something wrong, something that made his children stop loving him enough to share a meal. He died thinking it was his fault, when it was yours. Entirely, completely, unforgivably yours. I gathered my documentation, started putting it back in my bag, but then stopped. Pulled out copies I'd made. 3 thick folders, one for each sibling. I made copies of everything. All 1,300 receipts. All 1,040 photographs. All 6 notebooks worth of entries. One set for each of you. Take them home. Look at them. Really look at them. See what 25 years of abandonment looks like when someone bothers to document it. See your father's face aging across these photos. See the hope dying in his posture year by year. See the evidence of your neglect quantified and recorded. I placed a folder in front of each of them. Your father asked me, the last time I saw him, if I would keep documenting even after he was gone. He wanted someone to remember. He wanted proof that he tried, that he waited, that he never gave up on you even when he should have. So I'm giving you this, not as a gift, as a burden, as evidence, as something you'll carry for the rest of your life. Jennifer reached for her folder with shaking hands, opened it, saw the first photo, her father, 25 years younger, sitting alone at table 12 on that first Friday, and let out a sound like an animal in pain. We didn't know, she whispered. We didn't understand. If we'd known. You did know. You just didn't care enough to think about it. Your father called you every single week for 25 years. You knew he wanted you at those dinners. You chose not to go. Every single time. That's not lack of knowledge, Jennifer. That's lack of love. I picked up my bag, headed for the door, then turned back one more time. Your father's last words to me were, "Thank you for being my witness." He was grateful that someone saw his waiting. That someone documented his hope. That someone cared enough to record his story. He was grateful for a stranger, a waitress he tipped every week, because his own children couldn't be bothered to notice he was suffering. Think about that. Really think about that. A stranger cared more about your father's loneliness than you did, and you have to live with that forever. I left them there, surrounded by evidence of their abandonment, holding folders full of their father's wasted Fridays, finally understanding, too late, always too late, what they'd done. I went back to Marcos. It was Friday eve, 7 o'clock. The restaurant was filling up with people and families and noise and life. I walked to table 12. Empty tonight. No reservation. For the first time in 25 years, table 12 on a Friday night had no reservation. I sat down in Edward's chair. The chair where he'd spent 1,300 Friday nights. The chair where he'd waited and hoped and eventually just endured. And I cried for him. For all of it. For 25 years of Fridays that ended with him dying alone anyway. 3 weeks after the funeral, a letter arrived at Marcos, addressed to me, from Jennifer Chin. I almost didn't open it. What could she possibly say that would matter? But curiosity, or maybe just the need to know if any of this had penetrated their comfortable denial, made me tear open the envelope. Dear Maria, it began in handwriting that was shaky and tear-stained, some words smeared where water had fallen on ink. I've looked at every photograph, all 1,040 of them. I printed them out, laid them across my entire dining room floor, arranged them chronologically. My husband came home and asked what I was doing. I told him, looking at 25 years of evidence, that I'm a terrible daughter. I can see my father aging in these photos, week by week, year by year. I can see the hope in his posture in the early photos, the way he sits up straight, leans forward, watches the door. I can see that hope dying in the later photos. By year 10, he slumped. By year 15, he looks defeated even while he waits. By year 20, he looks like he's going through motions, performing a ritual that's become meaningless, but that he can't abandon because abandoning it would mean admitting his children don't love him. I did that. We did that. Michael and David and me. We killed that hope one Friday at a time. I've read every entry in your notebooks. Every single one. Do you know what I noticed? In the early entries, you write about my father with pity. Poor Mr. Chin, waiting alone again. But as the years go on, your tone changes. The pity becomes anger. Becomes disgust. Not at him. At us. By year 10, you're writing things like, Edward's children should be ashamed. By year 15, I can't believe they let this continue. By year 20, his children are monsters. You're right. We are. I've looked at every receipt. I added them up like you did. $186,743.52. I could have taken a sabbatical from work with that money. Could have had real time with my father instead of the stolen weekends and rushed phone calls I convinced myself were enough. But he spent it on meals I never ate, at a table I never sat at, maintaining a ritual I never bothered to participate in. My brothers and I had a meeting. First time the three of us have been in a room together since the funeral. We went through our copies of your documentation together. It took 6 hours. We cried for most of it. We argued. We blamed each other. Blamed Dad for not being more direct about needing us. Blamed you for being so brutal in your confrontation. But eventually, we ran out of people to blame except ourselves. Michael's oldest son, the one who graduated high school in 2008, the one Dad brought a card for that Michael never showed up to receive, is getting married next month. Michael called his son and told him everything. Told him about Grandpa Edward and the 1,300 Fridays. His son cried. Said, Dad, promise me you'll never do that to me. Promise me if I get busy with my life and forget to call, you'll tell me. You'll demand I show up. You'll make me see you. Michael promised. David has started therapy. He says he can't look at himself in the mirror without seeing Dad's face in those photos. Seeing the hope dying year by year. He's trying to understand why he stayed away, why he made excuses, why he let 25 years pass without a single Friday dinner. His therapist says it's complicated. Family dynamics, guilt, avoidance. David says that's just therapy speak for, I was selfish and cruel. He's probably right. And me? I quit my job. Partner at a corporate law firm, the career I spent 25 years building, the career I chose over my father every single Friday. I quit. I can't do it anymore. Can't prioritize billable hours and client demands when I now understand what that prioritization costs. I'm volunteering now. At a senior center. 3 days a week. I sit with elderly people who have no visitor. I play cards with them. Listen to their stories. Be present in a way I never was for my own father. It doesn't fix what I did. It doesn't bring him back. But maybe his loneliness can teach me to prevent someone else's. We've decided to do something. The three of us. We're endowing a program at Marcos. The Edward Chin Memorial Fund. It will pay for meals for elderly customers who come alone. It will train staff to notice patterns, people who come regularly, who seem to be waiting, who might be lonely. It will create community around Table 12 specifically, making it available for family reunion dinners where estranged families can reconnect in a neutral space. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. But it's something. It's our way of saying, Dad's waiting wasn't meaningless. His loneliness can prevent other people's loneliness. His abandoned Fridays can create connection for others. We're also working with a documentary filmmaker. She wants to tell Dad's story. Use your photographs, your notebooks, your receipts. We've agreed to participate, to go on camera and admit what we did, to let the world see us as the failures we are. Maybe Dad's story can wake other people up. Maybe someone will see it and think, that could be my parent. I should call them. I should visit. I should show up before it's too late. Thank you, Maria, for caring, for documenting, for bearing witness, for being there when we weren't, for seeing our father when we refused to look, for loving him in your way when we failed to love him in ours. We don't deserve your forgiveness. We're not asking for it. We just want you to know, because of you, we finally see, finally understand, finally know what we did. Too late for Dad, but not too late for us to change. Not too late for us to make sure other parents don't wait alone the way ours did. Jennifer Chin. I read that letter 5 times, felt nothing the first time, anger the second, sadness the third. By the 5th reading, something close to acceptance. They finally understood. 25 years and 1,300 Fridays too late, but they understood. Edward never got his family dinner, never got his children to show up, never got the reconciliation he hoped for every Friday for a quarter century. But his story, his lonely, painful, documented story, was changing things, making people pay attention, making children call their parents, making families show up. 6 months after Edward died, the documentary premiered. Table 12, A Story of Waiting. It went viral, millions of views, endless shares, countless comments from people saying, I haven't seen my father in 3 years, I'm calling him right now, and this is my wake-up call, I'm going home this week. Marco installed a permanent plaque at Table 12. Bronze, elegant, with Edward's photo from 1997, that first Friday, when he still had hope. In memory of Edward Chin, 1936 to 2022, who waited at this table every Friday for 25 years hoping for one more family dinner. May we all show up for those who wait for us. It's still there. People request Table 12 specifically now. Families come and have dinner together because they saw Edward's story and realized they didn't want to be the empty chairs someone waits. My name is Maria Rodriguez. I'm 58 years old. I've been a server at Marco's Italian Kitchen for 32 years. And for 25 of those years, I watched a man wait for children who never came. 1,300 Fridays, 5,200 meals, 1,300 lonely dinners. Documented, witnessed, remembered. Edward Chin never got what he wanted. But his waiting mattered anyway. His hope, though never rewarded, changed things. His love, though never returned, inspired others to love better. Show up, call them, visit them, sit with them, have dinner. Before the chair is empty, before the waiting ends, before it's too late. That's Edward's message. That's what 1,300 Fridays taught me. Don't wait until someone dies to wish you'd shown up while they were alive. Just show up. Table 12 is waiting.